Have you ever heard of the frost fairs in London? In the winter of 1683-84, the River Thames froze so solid that people held a festival right on the ice. This great frost was more than a cold snap. It was a sign of how wild European winters can get. What causes such extreme weather? Often it's part of a much bigger, interconnected global story. One of the biggest clues scientists watch is a climate pattern called El Niño, which starts with warm water in the Pacific and shakes up weather worldwide. So, what will El Niño mean for Europe in 2026? Let's dive into the science and find out. So, what is El Niño? Picture the Pacific Ocean as a giant bathtub. Normally, strong trade winds push warm water toward Asia, letting cold water rise near South America. But during El Niño, those winds weaken or reverse, and the warm water sloshes back east, spreading across the Pacific. This isn't a small change, it's a massive area of ocean warming up, releasing extra heat and moisture into the atmosphere. That energy disrupts air pressure and changes the path of major air currents around the globe. El Niño is a natural, temporary warming of the tropical Pacific, usually peaking in winter. Its cooler counterpart is La Niña, and together they form the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. ENSO is one of the most powerful drivers of climate variability on Earth. When El Niño arrives, the world pays attention. You might wonder, why does a Pacific event matter in Paris? It's a question that might seem puzzling at first glance. After all, the Pacific Ocean is thousands of miles away from the charming streets of Paris. Yet the answer lies in the interconnectedness of our planet's climate systems. Because our atmosphere is all connected, the air currents and weather patterns that originate in one part of the world can have far-reaching impacts, influencing conditions in places far removed from their origin. El Niño acts like a rock dropped in a pond. The ripples travel far, reaching Europe. This phenomenon begins in the Pacific Ocean, where warmer waters disrupt the usual weather patterns, sending waves of change across the globe. The heat and moisture from El Niño create powerful atmospheric waves that disrupt the jet stream, the high-altitude river of air steering Europe's weather. This disruption can lead to significant changes in the weather patterns that Europe typically experiences. Normally, the jet stream keeps Arctic air locked up north and brings milder Atlantic air to Europe. This balance is crucial for maintaining the seasonal weather patterns that Europe is accustomed to. But El Niño can make the jet stream wobbly, letting frigid polar air spill south or sometimes strengthening the flow of mild air. This wobble can lead to unexpected weather events, such as sudden cold snaps or unseasonably warm spells. The result? Europe can get hit with deep freezes or unseasonably warm, wet winters. These shifts can have profound effects on daily life, from transportation disruptions to impacts on agriculture and energy consumption. El Niño doesn't guarantee a specific outcome, but it raises the odds of something unusual. It's like rolling a dice with more sides, where the weather can land on any number of unexpected scenarios. It's a complex dance, and Europe is always in the mix. The continent must adapt to these changes, preparing for a range of possibilities each winter. When El Niño stirs the pot, Europe feels the effects. The continent's weather becomes a tapestry of unpredictability, woven with threads of both challenge and resilience. To predict 2026, let's look at past El Niño winters. The 2009-10 El Niño brought one of the coldest, snowiest winters in decades to the UK as Arctic air poured south. But in 1997-98, another strong El Niño led to a milder, wetter winter for much of Europe. Even the Godzilla El Niño of 2015-16 brought a surprisingly normal, mild winter. These cases show El Niño's influence isn't always the same. Other climate patterns can override or amplify its effects. El Niño increases the chance of an extreme winter but doesn't guarantee what kind. It's like adding a secret ingredient to winter's recipe. You know it'll be intense, but not exactly how. By studying these past events, scientists refine their models and predictions. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. The past helps us prepare for what's next. How do scientists know 2026 could be special? They use a global network of buoys, ships, and satellites to monitor the Pacific's temperature in real time. When they spot warming, they feed the data into supercomputers that run complex climate models. These models simulate how Pacific warming might influence global weather. For 2026, early signs point to a moderate or strong El Niño peaking right as Europe enters winter. That timing is crucial. It means El Niño's influence will be at its strongest. But models aren't perfect. The climate system is complex and unpredictable. So, forecasters talk in probabilities, not certainties. Right now, the odds are stacked for a winter that's anything but boring. Science can't promise specifics, but it can help us prepare. When it comes to Europe's winter weather, two powerful atmospheric forces take center stage: the jet stream and the polar vortex. These invisible giants shape the continent's climate, dictating whether winter will be harsh and icy or mild and wet. Their dance above our heads is complex, and when El Niño enters the scene, the choreography changes dramatically. El Niño, a warming of the Pacific Ocean, sends ripples through the atmosphere that can make the jet stream over Europe unusually wavy. Sometimes the jet stream dips far to the south, dragging frigid Arctic air down into the heart of Europe. Other times, it bulges northward, allowing milder, wetter air to sweep in from the Atlantic. This waviness is what determines whether cities from London to Berlin wake up to snow and frost, or to rain and unseasonably warm temperatures. The exact shape and position of the jet stream acts like a weather switch for Europe. A southward dip can mean blizzards and icy roads, while a northward bulge can bring relentless rain and flooding. The difference between a winter wonderland and a soggy season often comes down to these subtle shifts high above the ground. Meanwhile, the polar vortex is a swirling mass of ultra-cold air that sits atop the North Pole, acting as a kind of icy lid. It usually keeps the coldest air locked away in the Arctic, far from Europe's cities and towns. But El Niño's extra energy can disrupt this balance. Sometimes it triggers a phenomenon called sudden stratospheric warming, where temperatures in the upper atmosphere rise rapidly. This can weaken or even shatter the polar vortex, allowing the pent-up Arctic cold to spill southward in dramatic fashion. When the polar vortex breaks down, Europe can be hit by intense cold snaps, like the infamous Beast from the East, which brought blizzards, travel chaos, and record-breaking cold to millions. These events are rare, but when they happen, they leave a lasting mark on the winter season. A strong El Niño increases the odds of these disruptions, making it more likely that Europe will experience unusual and extreme winter weather. Meteorologists watch these signals closely, knowing that a single shift in the jet stream or polar vortex can change the entire season's outlook. The result? Europe could be in for a severe cold spell with heavy snow and ice, or a stormy, mild winter with flooding rains and powerful winds. The stakes are high for cities, farmers, and anyone who depends on predictable weather. Ultimately, the outcome depends on how the jet stream and polar vortex interact, sometimes working together, sometimes at odds. Their unpredictable partnership is what makes forecasting Europe's winter so challenging, especially in an El Niño year. As 2026 approaches, all eyes are on the sky, waiting to see which way the winds will blow and what kind of winter El Niño will deliver to Europe. As we look ahead to 2026, many are wondering, what could an El Niño winter actually look like for you and your family? The answer depends on how the atmosphere decides to play its cards, but one thing is certain: this winter could be anything but ordinary. If the polar vortex weakens and the jet stream dips southward, brace yourself for a season of persistent cold stretching from Dublin all the way to Warsaw. Imagine weeks where the chill lingers and the wind bites a little harder than usual, making every trip outside an adventure in itself. In this scenario, heavy snow could blanket cities like London, Berlin, and Warsaw, transforming familiar streets into winter wonderlands. Homes and cars might disappear under thick layers of snow, and the landscape could look more like a postcard than your daily commute. That means it's time to dig out those sturdy winter boots, scrape the ice from your windshield each morning, and make sure your car is stocked with an emergency kit, just in case you get caught in a sudden snowstorm or icy traffic jam. Commuters should prepare for travel delays, whether it's waiting for a train that's running late or navigating roads slowed by snow and ice. Patience and planning will be your best friends. But there's another possibility. If the jet stream shifts north instead, winter could take on a completely different character, one that feels more like an extended autumn. Expect milder temperatures, frequent rain, and gusty winds sweeping through cities like Amsterdam and Paris. In this case, you'll want to swap your snow boots for a reliable raincoat and a sturdy umbrella. Instead of shoveling snow, you might find yourself dodging puddles and bracing against the wind as you walk down city streets. No matter which way the weather turns, El Niño winters are famous for their unpredictability. You could wake up to a snowy landscape, only to see it melt away under a sudden rainstorm by afternoon. These sharp swings between cold snaps and thaws, snow and rain, can happen in the blink of an eye. The key to navigating this roller coaster is to stay alert. Check weather forecasts regularly, on your phone, on TV, or online, so you're never caught off guard by a sudden change in conditions. Be flexible with your plans, and always dress in layers. Pack your bag with winter essentials and make sure your home is organized with all the gear you might need, from gloves and hats to rain boots and umbrellas. And don't forget to look out for your neighbors, whether it's helping shovel a walkway, delivering groceries to someone who can't get out, or simply checking in. Community support can make a tough winter much easier for everyone. Whether you're facing towering snowdrifts or powerful winter storms, being prepared and staying connected can make all the difference. Take time now to get your home and family ready for whatever comes your way. One thing's for sure, with El Niño in the mix, winter 2026 won't be boring. Expect the unexpected, embrace the adventure, and remember, sometimes the wildest weather brings the most memorable moments. A wild winter isn't just about hats and gloves, it affects everyone. If Europe faces a deep freeze, energy demand and prices soar, straining power grids, a mild winter could ease bills, but stormy weather brings its own challenges. Snow and ice can shut down airports, snarl roads, and disrupt shipping. Health risks rise for the vulnerable, and schools may close, upending routines. But there are upsides. Ski resorts thrive with snow, and a good snowpack helps farmers in spring. The type of winter shapes everything from energy to agriculture. Understanding the risks lets governments, businesses, and families plan ahead. Preparation turns chaos into opportunity. That's why this winter matters. As 2026 approaches, El Niño is set to shake up Europe's winter. A patch of warm Pacific water can trigger a global chain reaction, wobbling the jet stream and polar vortex. El Niño doesn't write a single script, it improvises, making each winter unique. Science can't predict every detail, but it helps us prepare and adapt. Whether we get epic snow or endless rain, it's another chapter in our planet's story. Let's watch, learn, and be ready for whatever comes. Consider the science.